George Kittle sees himself as the voice of the 49ers locker room. But does he speak for the team or does he speak for himself? At the Super Bowl this week, he did a lot of talking. He was on a lot of interviews. He even did some singing. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But before the singing, there was the talking, and he was asked, like a lot of players, like I asked Kyle Shanahan, who's going to be the quarterback next year? Now, when I asked Kyle Shanahan this question, Kyle Shanahan, I'm guessing, lied, but he said, I don't know. Haven't even thought about that yet, which is a fair answer because he doesn't know who's going to be healthy. He can cross that bridge when he gets to it. His official answer right now is they have two starting quarterbacks. But George Kittle, voice of the team, goes on some podcast this past week and says it's Brock Purdy's job to lose, as if George Kittle is the head coach of the team or the owner, the general manager. I mean, Kyle Shanahan himself won't go there, but George Kittle feels no problem just stating as a fact that it's Brock Purdy's job to lose, in his opinion, as if he's a quarterback guru. This doesn't really sit well with me. And then at the NFL Honors, George Kittle was standing up, doing a singing. He wasn't dancing, but he was singing in the aisles. It was the cringiest thing I've ever seen. And I just am starting to wonder, does George Kittle talk too much? Does he want all this media attention so he can speak for the team or so he can speak for himself? Is he a team guy or is he a me guy? When he was young, he seemed like the ultimate team guy, right? He got famous for blocking. Now he's famous for talking. And it seems like his persona sort of overshadows his production on the field. He says Brock Purdy has is the favorite to win the job. Well, yeah, maybe it's because Brock Purdy played with Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle in the full complement of all the Niners players, whereas Trey Lance has played with George Kittle one time. It was against the Houston Texans a couple seasons ago, and that's when the Niners won, and Lance played really well. Maybe if George Kittle had been healthy enough to play with Trey Lance in those other games, Lance would have played better. So all I can think of is, if George Kittle really wants to be the voice of the team, shouldn't he just say stuff like, man, that's up to Kyle Shanahan. Whatever Kyle Shanahan wants to do, I support. Whoever the quarterback on the field is, I support. Brock Purdy's great, but so is Trey Lance. People need to give this kid a chance. He hasn't gotten, I know he said things like this, but that's how you approach it, not talking like you're the coach. Because it seems like George Kittle has a preference. It seems like he wants Brock Purdy to be the quarterback, just like he wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to be the quarterback, because Brock Purdy throws in the ball. Brock Purdy is the reason George Kittle caught 11 touchdown passes this year, or so many. And Brock Purdy is the reason George Kittle was singing at the NFL Honors. If it wasn't for Brock Purdy spoon-feeding him touchdown passes in the red zone, George Kittle would have been that guy with 700 yards and like 4 touchdowns, and he wouldn't have been an all-pro, and he wouldn't have been singing. But here he is, and he's probably going to get a third contract and another mansion because of Brock Purdy, and he wants Brock Purdy to be the starter. Whereas if Trey Lance is the quarterback, who knows? The offense changes. Maybe they run the ball more. Maybe they throw less to tight ends and more to wide receivers. Who knows? Maybe the offense is better overall once Trey Lance gets his feet underneath him, but not as good for the tight end. I don't know. All these questions come to mind, and it just seems like, for what George Kittle is at his age, almost 30 years old, excellent player, but he's like the 10th best player on the team. The voice of the 49ers locker room is Fred Warner. So it seems to me that from other players' perspective, listen to Kyle Shanahan, listen to Fred Warner, and don't say more than them. If Fred Warner and Kyle Shanahan won't say who the quarterback is going to be or should be next year, you shouldn't either, because you're a team. You're not out to promote yourself as a singer and an analyst and a football/performer, whatever. You're all in with whoever Kyle Shanahan decides. He's the coach, not you.